I passed out. I came to. I think the police woke me up or something.
Okay.
Or something. It was just the glass kept going. I was pulling it out, and I was like, oh, this is. Looked up, and then I saw like two cops, my friend, neighbour, and I passed out. And then I woke up like a week or so later in a hospital.
Welcome back to the One Gen podcast, guys. We are here at OG Gym in Claremont with Ryan Benston, my coach and co-owner of One Gen Gym. And today we have a very special guest, Calum Von Moger.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's good to come and check out your gym today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming up from Costa Mesa to Little Claremont. We're happy to have you here. We just got through with a back workout. I'm actually 2 weeks out from my show, so it was nice and chill.
Yeah.
Papa was pushing us as well, but not too crazy. Got to leave some in the tank. Now I get to dial things back a bit and just try and survive into the show.
Yeah, and that was a good, I've never seen you kind of training in the flesh. I've seen you doing a lot of the powerlifting and the crazy heavy lifts and stuff, but seeing you in the gym and doing a bodybuilding workout, it's very impressive, and you got a very dense back. Upper body is phenomenal. How have you found, like, leading into, say, this prep, just out of curiosity, what have you found the biggest struggle, and what do you feel like what do you find what do you find that's easy?
Well, for me, getting my upper body thick and conditioned has never been a problem. It's always been my strong suit. It's come easy for me. But getting the legs up has been a challenge, primarily because I was lacking in that conscious mind-muscle connection, right? It was always about just moving weight from point A to B, being a strength athlete for the last 13 years. My only concern was how much weight was on the bar and how fast I was moving it. Yeah. I didn't care if my biceps were big or not. It just was a byproduct of having good genetics and hard training. But bodybuilding for me is a very restrictive and selfish lifestyle that I couldn't commit to until recently.
Yeah. Have you found, and have you enjoyed, I think you just told me earlier, you've been doing you've kind of transitioned over to bodybuilding for about 18 months, like a year and a half, or you kind of made the jump?
Yeah, I made a full commitment, I want to say February of last year. That's when I reached out to Ryan. Ryan has an absolutely stacked resume with him coaching for a lifetime, 20 plus years, Olympians, both male and female, every year. Last year, 7, year prior, 14. Hopefully this year I'm up on that list as well. Yeah. So it was a no-brainer for me to work with him because I understand in bodybuilding, I can't change my insertions, but I can change how conditioned I come into my show. And I said, okay, if I can come in with the best conditioning in the entire show and the best posing, that's going to give me the best odds to win. Yeah. And we did exactly that. Yeah. Now, I want to actually turn the tables to you because right now, speaking of conditioning, I'm looking at your calves and your thighs. You're just chilling. And you had a little kebab or something, but you're shredded right now. You're peeled, right? And these past couple years, we can get into it if you'd like. I'd like to get into it. Yep. Have been pretty rough, but all of a sudden you just packed on 40 pounds of muscle in the last few weeks. Yep. Please, let's hear about that.
Yeah, no, of course. I think it's an interesting one too, because obviously everyone's bodies, and we all respond differently to different training lifestyles, external stimuli. You've got so many different things, and I think one of the things that I've been very kind of blessed with is I guess interesting genetics as well. It's going to play a part. And then, I think it was just the first changes, like the mindset, the 2022 and 2023 were extremely hard years for me and very rough. Just going through my personal kind of issues and problems, and then family, and dealing with the losses and things. And injuries. So I had a lot of things happen in a significantly kind of condensed period of time, and I guess after the first injury I had, the torn bicep and the quad, they were back then I was like, okay, these are injuries. They're not. There's something I can work through, and I made come back from those. last year, I kind of, I told you earlier, I was ready to give up on training, like bodybuilding. I really didn't know where I was at. I didn't know what I wanted. Didn't know if this was going to be the path that I would want to continue on. You know, I felt different pressure and stress from a lot of different areas of my life. You know, I took a time off social media, and it was the mind frame that I switched back, because I realized I was just declining, and I wasn't in a good headspace. And yeah, I caught up like at the end of last year in December. I caught up with a friend, another bodybuilder, really good friend of mine out in Rochester, and he's like, Calum, you know, you should get your bloods done. And it's something I hadn't done in probably 2 years. And he's like, get your bloods done and have a look at your levels. He goes, I bet your test level is going to be, probably pretty low and shot. So I went and checked them out, and it was like 80. So the doctor's like, your testosterone is not coming back naturally. You can't produce it. So I figured, okay, that's probably going to help contribute to my mental health and my, get me out of a bit of a hole. So I just started the TRT initially, and within, I think, the first 8 weeks, it just bounced. I just blew up. It was like I said, it's like pumping up a flat tire. The frame and it's all there. And I remember exactly, my body knows what to do. It's just refueling it, and training and getting back into routine. So it came back really quick. Yeah.
And I want to get to like what your goals are in a second, but circling back to the first time I actually discovered you was when you did that tandem bicep curl with Chris Bumstead, and you popped your bicep. Yeah. And then the next video I remember seeing of you is that you injured your quad. Yeah. Climbing. Yeah. Now, before those injuries happened, what were your ambitions?
Yeah, so my that was right around, I think it was 2016. Was that when the classic
first started?
Was coming out into the? They were going to introduce that. I think Danny Hester won the first.
Yeah, Danny Hester won the first Olympia.
Right. So that was going to be my goal. Was like, okay, because it was either bodybuilding or physique, right? They were like the two different things. And then they came out with classic, and I was like, this is perfect. I just finished with the WFF Federation, because I did I was in Australia. I did the WFF and the NABA, kind of that circuit, which is a different federation. I was doing the Mr. Universe shows, and I was like, okay, my goal was to be on the Olympia stage, for the classic physique. And yeah, I remember I just finished filming I did a documentary, like a film with playing Arnold.
Yes.
And I just finished that. I bulked up, and you know what? My heaviest wasn't even to probably what your is now. What are you, 259?
Yeah, 260
so
this morning.
I think, like, me on a bulk at the heaviest was like 255 or something.
Wow.
So
what do you know?
Oh, probably 242 or 244, something like in between, yeah. Something like that. I've got to check it out.
Well, you're absolutely peeled.
Yeah.
I mean, for those that can't see legs right now, I can count how many veins you have in your calf and quad. Yeah. Yeah, you're
the
peeled.
Condition holds pretty good with me. I'm very blessed in that sense, for sure. So I was a hard cater, so it was hard for me I could eat a lot, get a lot away with eating a lot of food. But going back to your question before, yeah, my goal was to get onto the Olympia stage and, win or at least, try and win a Mr. Olympia Classic. And then after the bicep tear, there was a setback, and I was like, I can come back from this, we'll be good. I had a lot of good reinforcement, and then I did the quad, and the quad put me out for another year.
Wow, a whole year.
Yeah, because so I tore this one, and then 6 months later I tore the quad and retore this one. So I got the quad reattached first, and then I waited 6 months to get this one reattached. So because I didn't want to get both of them done at the same time and just kind of be like in a wheelchair, I was like, I'll just cruise around with a torn bicep for a while, and then I'll get that one done later. So it just kind of pushed me back almost to, like a few years. But by the time that I was getting back into the gym, and I realized that this right leg, it never really, I still have issues with it, and it's still, I get pain and I've still got a trophy on the outer sweep. I never made a full comeback, and that's kind of when I realized, like, you know, realistically, I probably won't be able to. I'm not going to bring my best package to. I can't bring my best package to the stage because of those injuries. I think are going to hold me back a little bit. If I could have, so if I had no injuries, would have loved to. But I have to be real myself. I think, you know, there are going to be people that are going to have complete, you know, injury free and probably be able to, perhaps, you know.
Because I was there in Culver City when you stepped on stage.
Oh yeah, the Excalibur. Or
yeah, Excalibur. Yeah. And there was a lot of hype. You know, like Calum showed up, and then you won that show.
Yes, yeah.
He looked amazing.
Yeah,
and everybody was like, "Oh, okay, there's, you know, he's coming for it," because you got the classic look. Right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You got the height.
Yes,
and that's why it's like, damn, when I seen your physique now and your weight, I was like, how the heck are you gonna? Where are you gonna look? Like we were talking about before, that how can you? Because you got your show in 3 weeks,
17 days,
17 days, so just under 3 weeks, and you got to pull off 20 pounds roughly
20.
Yeah,
and you're already like dense and lean, so it's. You just,
yeah. I mean, there's some muscle that at some point,
how are you? What, like? Because
you got to take some muscle off.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's going to have to lose a little bit of size.
It's
because you've got like a little bit of conditioning around the trunk, and the legs, but really there's not much else you can.
It's not 20 pounds worth, that's for sure. No. So, but the reality is we have to work within these parameters. So
a little bit of muscle is just going to have to sacrifice a little bit. Which sucks. Like, come on, it's a bodybuilding competition.
Yeah. But him at 250s where I would love to see Larry on stage.
Yeah. So the goal is Ireland in 17 days, scoop that up, and then qualify. Ideally, qualify.
Get the Olympia qualification right away, and then
straight in.
Straight in.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, we just got, you know, the opportunity a couple of days ago. I didn't realize it was that close, and when originally we were going to do USA's here in Anaheim. But then someone suggested, hey, why don't you try out Ireland? I'm like, Ireland? Like, when is that? Like 2 weeks? Like,
and the fact that it takes like 3 weeks off of his prep before he could go back to eating pizza, he was like, I'm in. Let's go.
Like, let's get this done with, because I chose a prep time that personally I believe is longer than necessary. I started prep from USA 17 weeks out. And then on my last 2 shows, it was only 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And because I walk around at a single-digit body fat all year round, whether I'm on TRT or on a full stack or not, I don't believe I need a 16 to 20 week prep to get ready.
You can dial it in a bit more efficiently, but less. Yeah,
I'm a hyper responder to gear. You know, I hop on a full stack, and 2 weeks I'm a different man. You know, I don't think I need 20 weeks, but I did it not because I think it's necessary to be competitive at the pro level, but because I wanted to test my discipline. Yeah. Powerlifting, you're on when you're in the gym and you're off out. Yeah. Bodybuilding, I'm realized since I met Ryan, it's a 24/7 job. You know, it's a very restrictive lifestyle. There's lots of compromise you have to make. Yeah. No to this, no to that. Sorry, babe, can't do this.
What's the like?
You know,
what's the like? Are they like different like cycles that you do when you're doing like powerlifting versus bodybuilding? Like, what do they do? Like the same, like similar stuff, or is it different?
So really, powerlifting cycles are a lot more straightforward. It's just you take androgens, you take drugs that get you strong and big. You don't
test,
test, trend, anadrol, D-ball, T-ball, DECA, right? And then the ones you're not taking, it's easier to explain it this way. Things like Clen, Anavar, Arimidex, anti-estrogens, right? You're not going to take anything as a powerlifter that's going to get you shredded.
Performance, you can't really do much.
It's all about just moving away from point A to B, and how you look. It is important, you know? And I'm pumped, I'm stoked to be done with prep a few weeks earlier and potentially do my pro card and Olympia qualifier in the same weekend.
Yeah, that'd be a huge knockout. What's your ultimate goal? Would be to get on the win Olympia or get on the stage at least?
Well,
or are you just kind of feeling out? Like, do you have like a set goal that you want to do no matter what? Like, this is what...
Because I believe I'm such a rookie in bodybuilding as far as I haven't applied myself until recently. Maybe you saw your potential straight away when you applied yourself and realized, you know what, I have what it takes to be number one in the world at classic physique. And in 2016, you absolutely did, right? You 100% did. I had no doubt about it. I remember when you came onto the scene, and when I saw your first show, I was like, this guy's the next big thing. He's the next Arnold. Like, he is the second coming of what Arnold was, right?
Yeah.
And I still believe that. But for me, I only just started applying myself in the last year, so I haven't been in it long enough to see where my potential lies.
And already your physique's like phenomenal to work with, you know.
Thank you. You know.
So I think for me, like, I'll be honest, like when I started out, I didn't know that I was gonna. I wanted to be, but I didn't really truly see it or believe it until I had a lot of actually other people saying, "Well, you got this. You actually look really good." Or potential. I had other people say, "Why don't you do a bodybuilding competition? You start with this." Like another person, like, I was like, "Should I do it?" Like, and then bang, and then you realize, "Hey, I'm actually good at this."
Yes.
And then you realize, like, you know, wait, I've got like a gift, you know, and you know what, it'd be a shame not to explore it, you know. If you to jump on board, it's exciting to see you come over to the bodybuilding circuit, and I think it's gonna be fun to watch your growth and where your progress through it.
And much like you, I have a torn bicep, I have a torn quad.
Oh shit!
And my
quad as well.
So when I tore my quad, this was over 8 years ago, but it was a huge injury, and there's missing muscle tissue on my left quad. Really? So it's creating an asymmetry. And then my left bicep, while it's not super noticeable, it's there.
I think you created a nice looking thing. I'm just.
I mean, I'm not mad at it.
As an announcer looking like, you know, like. So does look like a shark taking a bite out of it or something like that.
So between the three people sitting here, how many cumulative tears do we have?
Oh, geez. That's a whole nother podcast episode. But, you know.
All three of us have had bicep tears.
Yeah, legit. On the same arm, too, right? My left bicep.
I'm right.
Right bicep.
Yeah, both, yeah.
But
have you both?
Well, this one just got carved up. Like,
oh, my God.
Like, not like tendon. This is just like muscle, like middle of the muscle belly. You know?
So how did you do that one?
That one fell through the window, went through the window 2 years ago. Second story. Just all lacerations here. And then I shattered my T10, T12 vertebra.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got like some shrapnel on my back as well, like some rods and shit.
But I saw you posing downstairs, and you talked about like you don't think you have now because the injury is realistic.
God, I'm still self-conscious about it.
Bro, you have a crazy physique, and I honestly didn't see an imbalance between your legs.
Oh, really? Yeah. Maybe it's in my head a little bit too.
I think, you know, we're going to be hyper attentive to our own flaws versus what others see. You know, and I don't see an imbalance. You know, I see a couple of scars on your arm, but is that something you think that would make any difference?
So is there a plan for a potential comeback?
Well, if I get enough like confidence from my peers, maybe. I would like this year. Like this year, definitely. I'm just enjoying the gym and training, and especially just meeting and getting back into the kind of the social scene. And
sure.
And like, you know, I kind of stuck to myself a lot, you know, for the last couple of years, which I didn't really like, but I just, you know, was just going through stuff. So I'm just enjoying getting back into the space, checking out gyms, training, and then maybe next year if I can get in a good routine.
Sure.
Perhaps.
Well, I mean, both of you guys are kind of in the same world. So a question for both of you guys, because I've watched it with this process, right? Larry's been dieting for the last, he started 17 weeks out, but also at the same time was building this gym, still having to meet and greet with fans and going all over the place. At that time in your career, right, when you were going, I mean, you were filming the documentary, you were playing young Arnold, and then a bunch of Netflix stuff that was going on, right? So it did that. I mean, how do you even manage? Like, that's how do you stay in a prep?
It's a really fine juggling act for sure. Like with and like you have to be selective with where you dedicate your time to. You know, especially with like you said, bodybuilding. It's a 24-hour thing. Like every part of the day is to contribute to your physique, whether it be sleeping, whether it be eating, whether it be training, recovery. So there's just so much that you can pack into your day just for bodybuilding. So when you have like expos, meet and greet, opening a gym, you've got a podcast, you've got YouTube, you've got social media, you've got relationships, you've got family, you've got all these things that just come in, and it's like it can be a lot. So you have to have people around you that understand it and that are supportive. You got to have a good network. You got to have people that, you know, like, hey, like I'm just gonna be knuckling down. Some people don't get it, and it's fine. They don't have to. But you know, when you have the right team, and it makes it a lot easier, and you have a calendar,
yes, write everything down.
Write it down, and I use it. I like to use notepads because I get too distracted on my phone, like in a notes. Just old school, write down what you got to do. I remember when, like, I'm not sure, like when I first started going to the gym, there wasn't social media. Like I started lifting probably I was 14 years old. You know, there was no social media when I started out. I didn't even have a phone, like, you know, at the gym. So I used to write my workouts on my arm, or like I used to just write on my arm. So I could just walk around. I have the most focused, dedicated workouts. Like it was just, which was great, especially in that, you know, that beginning phase when you're just trying to figure out and learn everything. You haven't got too many distractions, but yeah, it's tricky. And I'm, you know, hats off to you for managing so much at once, let alone, you know, maintaining a great physique. It's a lot. You know?
What was your breakthrough? So you said you started young. So when was it like social media started, and what was that first event that people? Because I just remember all of a sudden just seeing you everywhere.
Yeah, and I think it was like there was one initial kind of breakthrough, and then it was just like a gradual build up from there. And it was like there's a YouTube video that a friend made. Like I was working at a GNC. I was like 22, 23 years old. And he came in, and I was like, I kind of had this Arnold look. Like I had like no tattoos and longer hair and all that sort of stuff. You know, obviously looked up to him. And this guy was like, hey, can I make a YouTube video, like a training motivation video to go on YouTube? And he kind of just said it's going to like kind of flip. I was like, yeah, it was kind of weird. Like I've never been recorded in a gym before, but he had this vision, and I said, yeah, why not? And anyway, long story short, he put it up on the YouTube, and it went viral. And then from there, I got kind of recognition from overseas, like in America, in the States, like because he put on a public website. I think it was called simplyshredded.com back in the day, whatever. Anyway, so I ended up just bringing me out. So I got interest from supplement company, and I had like 10,000 followers on Instagram.
And what year is this?
Yeah, that was like 2014.
Oh, we're talking 10 years from today.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah, 10. Yeah, I just cracked 10,000 followers or something on Insta, and and then I came out. So I came into the States, and then I got a sponsorship with like Cellucor, Strong Lift Wear, and then I was just going to Gold's Gym and training, and then I just kind of slowly, just, you know what, and obviously when you're in that environment, that network space, like Gold's Gym Venice, you're bumping into all sorts of, you get a pretty good exposure, and it built up from there. So from there, it just kind of built up, and I just utilized social media as best I could. I was younger, a bit more sharp, like onto it, Snapchat and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. When did you first, or how did you when did you like pop onto the scene?
It was a gradual process, but I want to say roughly 2016 is when my videos started making their rounds, because I was lifting naked, like in my underwear, bleeding from my chest and my face and my back, and screaming and making a ruckus. And it was great. I got lots of attention. I was strong. I was in powerlifting, where typically people aren't built like I was, so I stood out.
Yeah.
I had a good 5 years from, I want to say 18 to 22, where I was traveling the world, Asia, Europe, UK, lived in Dubai for 4 years. That was a ton of fun. Made my presence international. I collaborated with all the biggest fitness people across overseas, right? Yeah. And it was a good run. And then eventually I realized, okay, I got to go back to the States. The pandemic's over. Yeah. That's when I moved back here last January. Right. And I wanted to lay my roots here. I've always wanted to live in California and open a gym, buy my first home. So last year was super eventful, super stressful year. But now I'm finally reaping the rewards of my hard work. And thank you, bro. And then speaking of hard work, when you got those injuries and you just finished filming and all this, like this was a very pivotal moment in your life, right? I'm sure your goals changed, your trajectory changed. Mm-hmm. And how did you, what did you pivot to when you couldn't work out? Like you and you couldn't pursue your dreams like you thought you were going to be able to, you know?
That's a good question. Because I guess that's where you lose your identity and you find it again. Like I found a lot of my identity in the gym and training and building that, you know, that outer physique, and that's who I recognize on you. And when you get that taken away, when you're injured and you can't do what you're so regularly used to doing every day, your mind starts going in circles, or it starts, you know, you can get a little bit depressed. Then it's a mind game. It's a test of your mental fitness gets really tested. And at the beginning, like I was pretty focused with my recovery. Like I just wanted to make the best possible recovery as I could. And then after I tore this quad, like it was a really bad like injury, the rock climbing one, and I kind of got a little bit. I went down a different path. You know, I started drinking a little bit, and then it led further into and then COVID came out afterwards. So during that period of time, like I came back, it wasn't too bad, but I had this time where I wasn't, really, I started drinking a bit and then doing drugs, and it wasn't a problem until it was. And it wasn't until really, I think it was like the pinnacle for me was, and I was dealing with like a little bit of depression and anxiety and stuff. And it wasn't until 2022, that's when it kind of hit I thought 22 was rock bottom, because that's when I just went on had a bad bender, and and ended up, jumping through a second.
Wait, can we please hear the moment leading up to that? What happened?
Honestly, I don't really remember a lot of the events that, like, I was a bit turbo. Like, I was like literally like a week before that, I was out in the bay fishing for tuna. Tuna fishing. Like, I was just this way, and I was just, I was smoking bongs with my friends and stuff, whatever. And it was like, and I was in the process of opening I was going to open a gym too in Australia. So I rented out a space and got this equipment, and I had a fair bit of shit going on. I had and I was like just impulsive with everything. I bought I got a new bull terrier, then I got a cat, and then I got a macaw, and then I got another bird, and I got another bird. It was like just like I was animals, gym, fishing, like all condensing everything. It was just a madhouse, but it was interesting. I lived in this like a factory, like a warehouse. I just
lived it.
I just put the gym in the bottom, and then I just put like TV couches up the mezzanine like this. So like kind of like this. There's like a little upstairs bit. So I just stayed in there for a few months. Just like
sounds pretty ideal to me.
Like a tree house, gym tree house type of thing. And then, but leading up to that, I was I think I was hanging around a few undesirables and just kind of going out and partying and just getting pulled, just sucked into that environment, and not really realizing that I didn't even tell myself, like I asked myself at that time, like, what are you doing? Like I could have said, like, this isn't the way, and it was at the time, it was the way, right? It was the only way. But leading up, I was look, my little brother, he was struggling a little bit too with his mental health, and partly I was just we were living together as well, and so he suffered with bipolar, and he was in and out of the psych ward, so he'd have episodes where he'd become manic and stuff, and I didn't really understand, to be honest. He was diagnosed, I remember him telling, my mum just told me not long ago, because I'm not sure if you know, he passed away last March, so just over a year ago, and mum was saying, we were just talking about that with Ezekiel, and mum was like, I remember Eddie came up to me when he was 17, he was 20, 28, I think about 10 years ago. He said, Mum, I think I'm different, or there's something wrong with me. And Mum didn't really know about it at the time. Then a few years later, he was diagnosed with like bipolar. We'd have these episodes and stuff. And I never really understood. I didn't know what bipolar was. And I wasn't around because he was in Australia. I was in the USA. And then, so he went, he had like an episode where, honestly, during the time, I thought it was just Eddie just being Eddie. Like, I thought, like, I don't know, just take your shirt off in the middle of the night and go mow the lawns. Like, go do you, man. Run down the street and just like order a juice with no shirt on. Just like, just having a good time, like happy, like, you know, turbo. And I was like, well, okay. But I didn't think anything really much I didn't really think that much of it. But anyway, he, I think he got like, he had to got checked into the psych ward for like, they just hold you or whatever. And then I think I kind of just, I had like I was going back to the where we lived, so the gym, the factory, and then he had his place. I was driving back to his place, and I think, honestly, I knew I wasn't doing well. Like, I was in a bad space. I just wasn't me, and I wasn't doing really well. So I was actually planning on just packing up all my shit and just driving out to the bush, like going out to like Northern Territory, like middle of Australia, like just going out, just camping and just being remote for a little while, just decompress from just everything, from people, from drugs, from alcohol, from life, whatever. And so yeah, I was like packing up all my shit, and I think there was like a bowl of mixed like weed on the table, and I fucking just hit it, just ripped a huge bong, probably snorted some ketamine as well. I don't know. There's probably some other shit lying around. I was just whatever, and it just absolutely scrambled me. I can't even remember. All I remember was I tried, like, I just, like, the house got fully smashed up, and I just got really paranoid. And I don't remember jumping through the window. I don't know how I went through the window. I don't know whether I went head. I probably went through head. I don't know if I went through head first, feet first. I don't know which way I went. But I went out my bedroom window, and I just remember waking up and just looking down this fucking, because obviously I hit a tree and then hit the ground, some shit.
Wow.
Like sharp and hit the ground, and then there's like just fucking glass. I passed out. I came to. I think the police woke me up or something.
Okay.
Or something. And there's just fucking glass kept and I was pulling it out, and I was like, it's just looked up, and then I saw like two cops, my friend, neighbour, and I passed out. And then I woke up like a week or so later in a hospital.
A week later?
Yeah, they put me in a induced coma for a week, and I had no recollection of any of it. And then, they woke up, like, and they said, oh, we're not sure if you, like, they told me, like, good news is, the good news is you're going to be able to walk again, because you're not paralysed, because you broke your back in 2 places.
Wow.
So I was like, can you feel your toes? I'm like, yep, you wheeling it? And then, okay, so, all right, so that's where that started. And that was like that was the biggest wake-up call, obviously. I thought that was rock bottom. Came in, obviously, I was a menace to myself, society. I'd ostracized myself. I turned into the person I hated the most. Like, I completely was like, who the hell am I? Like, this is just really needed a big wake-up call. Mum came in, she's like, hey, would you consider going to like rehab, doing rehab? I was like, yep. Could I probably, like, I was clearly, I need to, sort my shit out. So I went and did that, and which was great. It got me to a next, it was a way, it got me away from everyone, away from my environment, and so I was on like a good path to recovery. 6-8 months later, I didn't train, obviously. I did train for about, for the rest of 22, and then 2023, my brother committed suicide, and that was the rock bottom for me, because I'd never been suicidal in my life before. Like, I never ever really thought about it. People thought that I tried to kill myself when I jumped out the window, and I was like, no, it was just a mistake. It was like not intentional. I don't know what I was doing, but last year, like, that was rock bottom for me. Like, this time last year, I was ready to check out because of my brother. I was like, that was probably the hardest thing for me to overcome, was like losing him, because it was so close and I didn't understand all that sort of stuff. So that was tough. Then just I just felt like, well, you know, what am I even here for? Like, I just like thought I had no purpose. I felt like everything was just rock bottom, you know. So, and it wasn't, it just took some time. I mean, I was pretty blessed to have, and I just come back to the States, you know, I just got myself out of like the frying pan straight into the fire, you know, so to speak. But I just kind of got myself out of a hard spot, and I was just trying to patch things together with, you know, getting back on Instagram work, and then I got hit with that. So it was that was a big one. But anyway, I feel like I just talked a lot right now. What do you think? Let me ask you, what would okay, for yourself, for both of you, what do you think is probably the hardest thing you've ever had to overcome in life?
Well, I'm an only child,
Yeah.
and the closest person to a brother I ever had was my friend who passed a few years ago, Black Tom Cruise. And he was a part of my uprising. He was there when I was making a name for myself. I was finally transitioning from like this strong kid from the Bronx to being now a fitness celebrity and being able to make a real living, make a real career. He was a big part of that entire process.
Wait, where'd you grow up?
In the Bronx.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm from New York City. I lived in all the boroughs, did lots of traveling across the city. I never was able to stay put.
Yeah.
And so when I met him, I was a teenager.
At the gym?
I was 18, met him at Coliseum Gym in Queens, and we didn't click straight away, actually. He was actually a bit of a dick when I first met him. He was. And it took a while for us to get comfortable with one another, but eventually we became close. And this was, I want to say, the closest person I have ever been to.
Yeah.
The closest I've ever been to a person besides my wife.
Yeah.
You know, I told him everything. You know, we laughed all the time. We made content together, and we worked together for years. Yeah. And then one day, driving back from Mount Vernon Barbell in upstate New York, we were driving a couple of sport cars, and his was a Dodge Viper, 2005, I believe. No traction control, no ABS. He hit a puddle. It rained the day before on the freeway on the FDR. Spun out, flipped over with his convertible top down, and there's no rollover bars. So he was still strapped. He had a seatbelt on. Yeah. And I remember seeing the photo, like it's just his head on the concrete with the car turned upside down. Saw him in the hospital later that day. And
Cut.
No,
You saw a picture of it?
just saw a picture of it, but he was still alive, you know, in the hospital later that day. And he seemed like he was going to make it. And then he ended up passing from pneumonia, I believe. His lungs just gave out. You know, he got some kind of infection. He couldn't fight it. And that was it. It was just so sudden. He was 37 in his late 30s. He was healthy besides that. And that was it.
Freak accident.
You know, and that's it, you know. But
So what year was that?
this was in 2021, you know, just 3 years ago. I had actually already been living in Dubai. I just went there for a couple of weeks. You know, we were making videos together, you know, collaborating again after a long time of us. Otis. You know, and it was rough. It's something that I believe you agree with. It never gets easier. You just live with it. You know, when I remember him, it's always a little painful because I'm like, I may never have a friend like that again. You know, and that's it. I just can't get that back. But you know, it's still learning how to cope with that. Whenever, like, I try not to dwell too much on what's gone, and you remember the good times.
Yeah.
You know, and for you, it's even fresher. We're talking last year this happened, right, with your brother. So
yeah,
I want to
like it's like the initial shock is the hardest, and I feel like you like living it every day. Like over time, it just comes and it just hits you in waves. Like someday you're all right, and then someday it just hits you. It's overwhelming, and you know it can be hard to handle. But like I said, like, you know, and I will just focus on, like, I'd think of all the sad things. Like, you think you go, it was obviously with Eddie's, you know, fuck, I started like blaming myself for certain things. Like, I think like, oh shit, was this my fault? Like, could I have done anything? Because he jumped over off a cliff, like 10 minutes from where my parents lived, like a huge cliff. And it's hard, man. Like, I was like, is there anything I could have done? And, you know, like, you start, like, playing this guilt game or shame or whatever it is. Or so, but now I've been able to just reframe. It's like, and it's all the mindset. If you can get out, you got to, like, if you dwell on those negative, intrusive thoughts, if you let them take root, those seeds, then they become problem. And if you feed it, they become worse, right? And it's not just with, it's with everything, but you gotta weed those thoughts out and just try and focus on like what were the best things about him, or what was his, for me, it's like when I think of Eddie, I think of his carefree, his happy, his joy, and his spirit. And he's very free spirited, and his happiness, and he could just go up to anyone and just talk and just smile and be happy. So I've kind of like, that's his will that he left by. That's kind of his, that's a part of his personality that I can at least remember and cherish and adopt and keep his spirit alive in the things that I do. So that's kind of how I have been able to transition out of the, I want to join him and F the world. And this is just why do I want to, what am I doing here to like, he cherish who he was and what he stood for, and not the decline, and not what he was, because I can't take on his, I can't wear his cross. I don't know what he was battling. I'll never understand it.
That resonates for sure. For me, it resonates strong with me because I come from a family of all brothers, right? So I have my parents have been married for over 50 years and had 7 boys, and there's 5 of us still living.
Yeah, same.
So I've lost a couple. I lost a couple of brothers as well.
Yeah,
right. So hearing your story, you go, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Right? So
big family.
Big family.
This too.
Yeah.
You might not see him, but you still love him like ferociously.
Oh yeah. And so, I mean, it's hard to overcome. Me personally, and Larry knows this about me. I'm a strong believer in Christ. For me, that's a big part of my life. So that's something for me that makes things a lot more tolerable and easier to overcome because of purpose, right? Purpose for everything. But definitely something that's still fresh, and that's got to be crazy challenging. So,
because I'm a Christian. I think that's definitely a huge component where it's like that. It's a foundation. Like faith is it's a foundation, right? It's something that it keeps it's a backbone. It keeps you going, and it's and that's where I had so much confusion, especially when when I lost my dog, I had a bull terrier that I was absolutely obsessed with, and we were best friends, and he's my little boy, and I had it for 3 years, and then he died like just freakishly, like it choked on a chip and died. And I remember I was digging his grave, and I was like arguing, like what, like why God, like I was angry, like why would this happen, and then with Eddie, I was like, because I always thought that people who, like, let's say people that took their own lives, I always thought like, it's a weak way, it's like cow, it's an easy way to go out, like but it's not, like, because I stood on the same cliff, and I tried to muster up as much courage to jump off as well. I stood there for like 3 hours, and I couldn't do it. I was like, holy shit, the fact that he could go through, had more strength to jump off and end everything than to pull back. It's like, it's different. And then I think of, from my Christian point of view, it's like, oh damn, what is it, like, it's such a grey area, and then it's like, what does that mean? Like, is he, so I get all these, but then I realize, like, at the end of the day, I'm only human, and I don't have to understand or know everything, and that's not necessarily for me to, to worry about. But it's definitely, it makes you wonder, makes you think.
Well, seeing you here today definitely seems like there is the rebirth here of Calum.
Right? Yeah.
And it's very apparent watching you train, seeing how you look. I mean, you're such an aspirational person to so many people. Telling your stories like this, just like Larry has been transparent about his addiction problems and things he's had, really, I think, resonates with those fans, right?
Yeah.
And if your purpose on life is not to just be here to be a great bodybuilder, but it could be the beginning of the story for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
So this can be the start of you being that inspiration to somebody who's been dealing with the same things, right?
Help the next man along at least. Yeah.
And more than just having the most perfectly symmetrical quads, there's a lot more out there. You know
There's
what I
so
mean?
much more. It is. It gives you perspective. It's like, I used to be worrying about that. Oh my God, I started looking at it. It's like, damn, there's a lot more going on.
Look, coming from being a bodybuilder and competing on the stage for so long, and that being the same thing, it's an identity. When you're a professional athlete and that's what you're known for, everybody knows you for being the biggest, the strongest, that guy, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, my saving grace became that I had coaching to transition into, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of people are left after their career or after something like this and not understanding where their purpose is going to be, right? And like Larry explained, that bodybuilding is kind of a recluse sport, right? It's kind of something that's a very individualized sport.
Yeah.
And I found through now coaching for 25 years that I get more gratification out of one of my athletes wins because I'm a part of that process with them than I ever did when I won. Because you go win the show. I won many shows. You win a show, you go home, but the next day you're still wake up eating egg whites. Nothing changes. Yeah. Other than your Instagram handle, IFBB Pro or whatever changes.
Yeah.
That's all that changes to the people that are close to you.
Yeah.
To everybody else, I'm just Ryan still, and I'm the son, I'm the brother, I'm the father, right? So that doesn't change. So for a lot of people, there's a lot of letdown, no matter if you had extreme success or not. I'm sure Ronnie Coleman, after winning 8 titles, still retiring, had to be this gap, this big piece missing, right? And 9 or 10 more titles is not going to bring that fulfillment.
Yeah, that's exactly right. What's the fulfillment? Because I'm like similar. Like I did my shows and I win, but after, like, as soon as you're done, like, I just give the trophy to mum. I put up in the mantelpiece. I never see it again, and it's like, what's next?
Yeah.
Am I doing this again? Because it's all I know. But what's next? Like, okay, the fulfilling part for me was actually the 10 weeks leading up to it, because I'm motivated, I'm training, I'm dieting, I'm doing everything to a T, and then once it's done, it's like, it's okay, where do we go to here? Like, what have you kind of achieved? Like, is it a trophy, a title? Like, but those things are just,
I have this conversation with every guy when their goal is to be a pro, and they tell me I want a pro card. And I tell them that day is going to be the best or the worst day of your life. And they say, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, if your goal was to be a professional athlete, to achieve that, then it's one of the greatest moments.
Yeah.
But if you think you're going to wake up, your phone's blowing up, sponsors are going to call you, you're going to make a ton of money. If that's why you're doing this, then you're going to be highly disappointed, right? So I guess it depends on what that personal drive, of like what the motivation behind doing what you're doing is. And I think a lot of people get into these things they see the fame, they see you, they see Larry, they see the numbers, they have this perception of what that lifestyle is. Yeah. They don't understand the amount of pressure that comes behind that lifestyle as well. Yeah. But I think every single person in this room, we wouldn't get to the level we got to what we're doing if we didn't have a certain level of OCD and a certain level of
a little bit crazy to go through with what we do with it. It's not for everyone, 100%. You got to have a certain discipline, a certain ambition. You got to have a certain drive. You got to have, those things, and those can't come from anyone else except yourself. You have to build them yourself. I think. I think a lot of it anyway initially.
So that amount of pressure that we put on ourselves, because this sport, nobody else is making you do it. Most of the time, friends and family around you don't even want you doing it because it's annoying. Yeah. Yeah. So, but that push, that drive is something that we have, and that fear of not being the best at what we're doing. Right. So there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. But then there's also, I just found, I'm 45 years old in August. And at this point in my life, I do have a level of comfort where I go, I don't have to be the biggest. I don't have to be the strongest anymore, because I get my satisfaction out of making sure that he's the biggest and strongest and the leanest on stage that day, right? Now there's a different purpose for me, and it's taking the knowledge, taking the all the years of the practical application of doing this myself, and then working with so many athletes.
Challenge. You get to apply everything that you've gained and experienced and learned, and you get to apply that into someone else, and then you can see kind of like, that's kind of fun. That's kind of cool.
Half the coaches that are out there coaching now that are like my competitors I'm coaching against, right, were people that I coached into the professional league, and I take great satisfaction out of that, because I like to see them blossom from athlete than into coach, and seeing them transpire into something bigger in this industry. And that's where I think the drive comes from now. So same thing with you. I mean, but you're still young. So you still, I mean, you look like you have not stopped, which is crazy. Right? And
Strongly agree.
And I was a fan of you from before, and just from your physique, following your journey. Bigger fan of you after today's interview, because I mean, man, I think there's a lot of relatability that you have there, and the vulnerability, which is going to be amazing. The fans should pay attention to this. That's not easy to come out and talk about.
No, you're right. It's not. Yeah, and I think that's what I struggled with the most was, I think was definitely, like just process or I couldn't. The reason I didn't talk about a lot of it because I didn't know how to.
Yeah.
I was still trying to understand. I didn't know what these emotions were. I didn't know what these feelings were. I couldn't still processing a lot of stuff, and it was just really hard, to be honest. And I think it helps a lot just coming and doing these. Like I've just started doing a few podcasts this year, and it helps a lot. Just kind of like exposing it, just airing it, just getting it off my head or out of my mind. It's helped a lot, and I think yeah, definitely. I think it's great to. Because I never really, and that's the other thing I think now, like you said, a lot more relatable, more human. Like I do feel a lot more, I feel like I can stop and talk to anyone, because, or can relate to different people, not just, people who I'm in fitness with or in the gym or those sort of things. I feel like there's a lot more, vulnerability that I didn't even know I had, because I used to suppress it all. I was like, I'm strong and I've got this. I'm confident. I'm not a little wuss. I'm not a little, I'm kind of, I can do anything. And had to kind of go through it to realize that, I'm not invincible. Yeah.
So the question then is, Larry, are we gonna see Calum versus Larry Wheels at some point on a classic show, man? You need to come back.
But I don't think I would, because I think I got my pro card, but
I'll make some phone calls.
Oh, we're applying the pressure now.
No,
I'm feeling pressure.
Yeah. I would 100% do it just because it would be fun. I could compete with a friend. It would just be like, it would be fun, right?
I would love to see you both prepping here.
You'd get better. It'd actually be more of a personal growth thing. It'd be like, because I would push myself, train the first biggest person that I've trained with in I don't know how many years. I haven't trained with anyone. So it's always nice to train with people that are bigger and stronger because it's like, makes you hungry.
Absolutely.
So definitely, man, I'm sure it would kickstart a little, fan those flames a little bit.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
it'd stir up I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
Because as you're sitting here right now, you're merely a few months away from being ready to step on stage, in my humble opinion. Yeah. I'm sure Ryan agrees with me on that.
And I saw him posing in the room. You just genetically, you both are just blessed genetically.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can go through what you went through and then just be back like this. Yeah. I mean, most people will take.
I think that's what I would like to do. Would be just to kind of show that how I can go through hell and have these injuries and still. Just as a confidence thing, like, hey, let's just see what I can do. Just if I get back up on the stage and do my best, at least I think it'd be a nice thing to see. Like, hey, he went through absolute hell and then he came back. I'll do it for sure.
That would be amazing. I mean, just to see you get back to the point that you are now is remarkable. And so super commendable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After the trials and tribulations you've overcome these past couple of years, you must have incredible mental fortitude. I'm sure you're ready for whatever life can throw at you now. You've really been tested. How do you handle hardship now? How do you cope with it? Because a couple years ago, you turned to drugs and alcohol to cope with those difficult emotions.
Yeah.
But now, you know, you're back training, you're back in the gym, iron therapy at its best, right? So what is your coping mechanism now? Is it the gym? Is it fitness?
Pump is the cure. Pump is the cure, mate. It is. It's the gym, 100%. Like, look, after I went through my alcohol and drug phase, 22, came out of that, sobered up, 23, when I lost my brother, you would think I would go straight back down to drinking and drugs. I didn't do anything. I stayed away from, that stuff, and I kind of just, it was hard. The first thing I want to do is just not turn off. But I don't know. I feel like it would be almost like a, well, first of all, I just knew that wasn't the answer because I'd just come out of a terrible place because of that. And then second of all, I just realized that it wouldn't actually help me with the processing or the grieving or the accepting of what had happened. So the way that the gym was literally it after getting back into the gym this year and getting into eating healthy and consistently and training, it 100% has just put me back up onto this high focus, locked in mindset with with more confidence and belief in myself that there's more to be done and achieved. So I think now when I train at the gym, I'm not really too concerned about what the outside looks like, kind of like what you were saying as well. It's just very that's a kind of like you when you were training, doing the powerlifting and stuff. It's a byproduct, right? For me, it was always the product. It was for me. It was I've got to get an extra inch here. I've got to build this up. But now I train to feel like I like to pump. I like to feel good. I like to burn myself out. And then I feel like the muscle's a little bit of a side. It's not so I'm just enjoying it at the moment, and that's good for me. So if you keep twisting my wrist,
about to be arranged.
Yeah, it would be fun though. Yeah. Do you know anyone else that you're going to be competing against? Do you know who your competition is? Have you got any ideas?
That's a coach question. I have no idea. I'm going into the dark right now.
Squad's got to get torn.
I think, to say this without trying to sound, cocky or whatever, I don't think there's anybody right now on the amateur level that's going to be. I think we could pick whatever national show we want to go to.
So us going to Ireland was more of a convenience than having those two shows back to back.
Yeah, it just was presented and it's earlier and he's ready. Yeah. So if we needed 6 weeks, I would say 6 weeks. But since it's basically 3 or a little less than 3 weeks, and I believe that he's that close, delaying is just going to suffer longer for no reason.
Have you ever put him through a drastic body weight reduction in this amount of time? Have you done this before?
Oh, many times.
Okay, so you're not worried because I'm
Look, here's the thing. Let's tell you, going in last year to the Olympia Amateur, we had to drop 11 pounds in 10 hours for that show, and I mean. That was the one time that made me. I was super nervous about this one, but we had everything old school. I grew up with a very competitive wrestling background, so I almost took the bodybuilding and said, "All right, forget it. We're going wrestling style." At this point, it was sauna suits, sauna, hot tub, hot showers, and just doing everything we could just to get the weight off. To the point that literally we were driving to the check and still 3 pounds over with the heater on in the car, wearing a sauna suit, and no more water to lose. I dropped 5 pounds on the drive over, right?
Yeah.
So and he made the weight, was very, very close to being to the brink of where I almost said we need to pull the plug, and he made it there. We weighed in, we carved him up, and it was a great result.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I would rather not do that. Yeah. But here's the thing, and this is Nothing against. I know there's the rules, there's the regulations, the people that draw up there, but there's a big discrepancy, in these divisions, because coming from a fan of bodybuilding, being a bodybuilder, loving it my whole life, being a coach, the look and the direction they were going with open bodybuilding, to me, is not very aspirational. So I never wanted that look. I got into bodybuilding idolizing the Arnold's physiques, idolizing Flex Wheeler, idolizing these very aesthetic physiques.
Lines, good symmetry.
Agreed.
And that started to go away with the distension and the wide waist and the things that, these blocky physiques, which really was a deterrent for me. I wouldn't want, hats off to these guys to be able to get that massive. It's cool to watch, but I personally wouldn't want to look in that way, right?
Yeah.
And so my career, when I was competing, that was not something I was wanting to obtain. And I think for Larry, in the same boat, you have two options. Classic physique, which is an obtainable look that you want to look like, and it's a very, marketable look.
Yeah.
Or you go competitive in open bodybuilding, which then he needs to be 300 pounds at his height, right? Now,
Because he's tall. Yeah.
do you want to have to do to yourself?
Self for that much. It's a thing of the health, thing of the time, thing of the food, thing of the money.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
So genetically, Larry could very easily be an open pro bodybuilder.
Oh, I mean,
What's the heaviest you've been?
so I've been 302 pounds, and I'll get people that say, why don't you go to open bodybuilding? And I remember at my first open bodybuilding competition in 2018, I stepped on stage at 265, and the guys I was standing next to, there was a couple that were like 6'1", 6'2", my height. They were like 290 on stage, shredded, and then that was a wake-up call for me. And then beyond that, the lifestyle you have to be 300 plus pounds at my height, especially like yourself, I'm a hard gainer.
Yeah.
So I was on 10,000 calories a day with insulin, with the kitchen sink, with everything I can possibly shoot at my body and take to be as big as possible. There wasn't any limit. It was just like, I'm going to get to 300 pounds or die doing it. I was, when I have a goal that I believe I can achieve and I get frustrated after not achieving it, I just eventually go all out, whether it's reckless or not, and I just commit, and I did. Yeah. And after doing it, I hit 302 pounds and I stopped the next day. I'm like, all right, I'm done. Because I was initially doing it because I was doing a powerlifting competition and I was trying to break a world record at the 308 pound weight class. And I ended up weighing in for that comp at 285 because I couldn't sustain the lifestyle. So my hat goes off to those men that could, at my height, or any height rather, be an open bodybuilder, eat 9 times a day, wake up full, go to bed full, you're gassy, you're on the toilet 6 times a day. I mean, you feel miserable, you feel heavy. I couldn't walk for more than 3 minutes without taking a break in the mall and holding onto the railing because I was so out of shape, wasn't doing any cardio. It was the worst I've ever felt in my life. And then I felt like a hypocrite. I'm promoting health and fitness, and when I feel like I'm the most unhealthy person on earth.
I mean, I'm 5'10", man. I'm 5'10", and at my heaviest off season, I was a super heavyweight bodybuilder. And at 5'10", I've been as heavy as 305 pounds.
Oh, you as well?
305, right, in my off season. Now, but competitive weight is about 240. I was 246, 247 on stage in my last show. But that's 300 off season trying to chase it, and it's miserable. I mean, I got bloody noses for having high blood pressure. And fast forward, I'm 44, and at 40 years old, or at 42 years old, I had a massive heart attack.
Did you?
Yeah, a heart attack.
Because you have to read do you have to take a lot of gear to get what would be like a high dose versus like to get that heavy? Like you have to take a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was 302...
Rich Cannon, he's like probably one of the biggest guys that I've seen,
massive.
And he...
I mean, at that point, I didn't even have any...
Your genetics, and probably, do you reckon you can get away? You could be still pretty optimal and not have to take as much?
I mean...
How much test? Just say, how much test a week?
Look...
Be 302 pounds.
Look, to be 302... I had no more spots left to inject at that point because everything was swollen and inflamed, and I was pinning every day. I was on insulin. I mean, I was a walking heart attack. It was just a matter of time before my heart exploded. And just because I think you can take PEDs or anything for that matter and still live a relatively healthy lifestyle if you're not abusing your food. Yeah. And I was having 10,000 calories a day of ice cream and pizza and burgers, and that's what was killing me and making me feel terrible. You know, it was just an astronomical amount of food, and you're adding a ton of gear on top of it. Yeah. I was probably in like 1,500 tests, bunch of tren, DECA, insulin. I mean, everything. I can't remember all everything at once. You know, I was like, I need to be 302 because I want to do it. You know?
Let me put a disclaimer in there. I wasn't coaching him. So.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tell you who was coaching me because, yeah, maybe that guy didn't like me. He wanted me dead. But, you know, but now after working with Ryan, I've taken a significantly healthier approach to reach my goals. For one, switching to Classic is a huge lifestyle change. I can, in the off season, eat, you know, 5-6 meals a day. I'm on like 3,000 to 4,000 calories. I feel great. My blood's come back good.
So you feel a lot better.
Substantially. I can live a normal life.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're bulking, like he had it even worse than me. 5'10" at 305 is like me being 330 at 6'2". It's nuts.
I look terrible too. Like, let me read. Like, it doesn't feel good. I didn't look good. I mean, I thought it was huge. You know,
Yeah.
You feel good for like 5 minutes a day. When you lay under a bench press and you do this, like, you feel good. That's it. And then when you sleep and you have sleep apnea and you've got a freaking CPAP machine just to go to sleep, heartburn all day, indigestion, it's just not worth it, right? For me, it wasn't worth it. And I'm looking at these guys, and the judges are telling me, you're almost there. You just got to be a little bit bigger. And I'm like, how much bigger do I need to get, you know? I mean, 5'10", 240 on stage, I thought it was big, you know? But I couldn't be big enough, you know? And it was just, and I didn't want to chase that anymore.
Whose needs are you satisfying now? Are you doing it for yourself? You're doing it for all these other people? Like, what? Say this. Like, you got to figure out for yourself what's the right,
And then even for, you know, it's not healthy and it's not marketable either anymore. I just don't think that's a look that most people want to have.
I think and that's probably like, I'm still, it's an interesting, like, I think there's so much, like, I think in the youth these days, like, I remember, like, when I first started, like, steroids, I didn't take them till I was like 20, 21 or something. But for the first 6 years, it was just like, you know, it was all training, just all natural, right? So just gym and figuring shit out, stuff. And then, like, I remember I did, like, my first little cycle, and it was like 1 mil of DECA and 1 mil of test a week. Like, I didn't understand what the milligrams or anything was. It's just like, I found a friend, he's like, I had to, like, work my ass off for, like, worked at a gymnasium, training little kids, gymnastics, saved up $600. It was like, they charged like $300. You got like a thing of test, a thing of DECA, 1 mil a week, like 10 weeks. And it was like, I blew up substantially off of that, you know?
Sure.
And then it wasn't until like, but I didn't have any like coaching. I just went on the internet, just tried to look up like, what's a stack or how to, you know, like steroid.com or something.
Get big doc insemination.
I was always very aware or conscious of like, you know, of the potential risks or healthy, you know, and I was like, wow. And I remember I used to look at like the mass monsters that you had in like the 90s and 2000s stuff. And then I look at the old school physiques and I was like, wow, I just want to look more old school.
Well, you never had a look to me of somebody that was abusing steroids. Yeah. So,
eyes up, would be just over a gram test and
total.
Yeah, just then it was just for a bulk, but I think it's just a different, you know. Yeah. It's. I think it's definitely something that it's especially now, like understanding, like, because I wanted to cut. Like, I was like, no, I'm just going to come off everything. I don't want to do. I don't want to take anything. You know, I went through this stage. I was like, I just not even gonna hostel. So,
well, not only that, we've all probably been through it. Like like pinning steroids is a hassle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. When I stopped taking them, because it's been about 8 years for me.
Yeah.
Since I've taken.
Did you have to take TRT? You say I'm looking.
So I'm not allowed to be on TRT because of a blood condition that I have.
Okay.
So I have super low test.
Yeah.
Which sucks. But you know, it's one of those things that not pinning was like. I mean, I don't have to eat 6 times a day, and I don't have to do this. Man, it's kind of nice.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And
I was thinking, break.
And now I'm at a spot where I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, if I miss a workout, I'm like, I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah. It's not what it used to be. But there's a lot of peace in that, honestly, you know, to get to a point where just like the last 5 weeks of building this gym, I was working 20 hours a day, you know, getting this done. So I hadn't touched the weight. This week was the first workout. I've done 2 workouts since we've been here. And it's been like 5 weeks, no working out. It feels great. I didn't realize though how much I miss it till I started hitting the weights. It's like stress levels come down. Everything feels better. So
everyone would benefit from. Doesn't that necessarily have to be just being physical, just exercise.
Yep.
Whether you're doing it to look good or for a sport, but anyone, everyone, all ages, all races, all sexes, everything. I think it's just such a crucial component of our like health.
Oh, absolutely. My mental health is nowhere near as good when I'm not getting like that's the outlet, man. That's just where you get it out.
Giving yourself an hour to work on your fitness and your health and whatever. I think it's I definitely because I went through like a long time. I did nothing, sat on the couch and it was crappy or whatever. It was just like training. It just keeps the wheels going in the right direction.
Pun intended. Keeps the wheels going. And when I was 16, going on 17 is when I made that decision to go the lesser evil approach and hop on a full cycle. And despite me still going into the gym, and it was iron therapy, and I was feeling great from it, my circle was very toxic, right? The person that I was training with at the time to this day is still homeless. He is addicted to what he was back then. Yeah. He was a hardworking guy. He was working 3 jobs. He was a student. He was a veteran, served 4 years for his country. And he succumbed to addiction. And when I witnessed that, I witnessed this man go homeless, and over 10 years later, he still is. I mean, that made me go cold turkey to that lifestyle. But the environment, your close circle, your immediate circle of friends, the people you spend the most time with, has the biggest influence on your decisions in your life. Yeah. And currently, I think I have an absolutely stacked team of supporters and friends and people that are in my immediate circle, from my wife to Ryan to many others that are just ideal for me to be associated with on a regular basis. And if I had that same circle back then, now, there's no way I'd be where I'm sitting at today.
Yeah, 100%. If you still had to, it's crucial to your growth development, like 100%. I think your immediate 5, I don't know, there's also, but they make up who you are. You know, it's okay. Sleep with cops, you get fleas if you hang around that sort of environment. It's only going to hold you back. But I think for any success, you have to have a good, strong team. You know,
to big time.
Pull you through, keep you accountable, keep you motivated, all that stuff. You know, I think I definitely looked the best when I had a coach, when I was working with a coach. Versus trying to figure that.
Who was that coach?
I worked with Eric Deluro. I think he's from Canada. He's there Canada years ago. So he, he's, I think he's been around. I met him in at Gold's Gym. So he prepped me for 2 different shows, but I learned a lot. Like just, I remember the first time I worked out I did a show with him. Super focused, I was like a sponge, just absorbing everything. Like he looked at me and he got a good read. He could figure out, what was needed, what was lacking, what I'm strong in. So he was a great, for me to learn off. And I 100% think that having a coach, especially in what you and what you're doing now, and what competing competitive bodybuilding, takes all the legwork out of it, all the thought work out. You can just focus on what you need to do. It's almost like, hey, here's the guidelines. This is what, just tell you just do. You don't have to worry about too much or do all that sort of stuff. So, so this is going to be your first, the second year that you guys have worked together.
So far it's been a happy marriage. We're not biting each other heads off yet. I mean, look, we're pumped to working together, and I think everything that we've touched since we've been partnered has been a success so far, and it's onwards and upwards. I think we make a great team, especially when it comes to bodybuilding. I mean, having a coach that I'm working with on a daily basis with business, double as my coach for bodybuilding, is perfect. Yeah. I only broke world records in powerlifting and had success there because when I was preparing for it, John Gaglione.
Where's he from? What's he do?
He's a powerlifting coach.
Powerlifting coach.
And for a long time, he was based in Long Island.
Okay.
And he would prep me hands-on, every single session during my preparation for the competition. And the training that I did when I was with him versus the training I did when I was by myself, left to my own devices with no accountability, night and day different. When I got injured, when I overtrained, when I didn't do well at a comp, it's because I wasn't under supervision. And that's a testament to his great coaching, a realization to my lack of discipline and commitment to when I'm not being supervised, I make mistakes. But that's all the more reason to, okay, well, I know my weakness, so let me prevent that and let me work with him when it matters most. And when I work with Ryan, I do what he says. He says, jump how high? Okay, yes, sir. And I have faith in his ability because he's been doing it flawlessly for a long time. So it gives you a lot of confidence. Like you said, takes out all the guesswork. I know when I show up to my next show, I'm going to look the best I can possibly look because I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I was competing with powerlifting with my coach, John Gaglione, if I was with him hands-on every session, I won every comp and I got my records every time. Yeah. And the times I wasn't working with him, I didn't.
What's your 100%? What's your out of curiosity? What's your greatest lift? What's the heaviest? What's the heaviest you ever barbell curl?
Barbell curl, 315, 143 plates. Yeah, 3 plates.
3 plates.
Yeah. Yeah, I really want to do the 405 tandem curl with you today, but maybe one day before your next show, 2 weeks out.
Ready to turn up.
I am highly advised.
This is never going to happen, don't worry.
Not to do this. I mean, you already tore bicep doing that. You got a tore.
Ooh, okay.
What about biggest squat, biggest deadlift, biggest bench press? I'll tell you, just what's the weight?
The most weight I had on the bar was squat is 950, bench 675, and deadlift I did 929 for 3 or 900 raw, mixed grip belt only. But the most exciting lift of my life would be when I pulled 900 pounds for the first time. It's because it happened so fast. I just jumped from like 860 to 900 in like 2 weeks. And I never imagined I would get that strong that quickly. So just like a shock and adrenaline rush all at the same time. And I remember losing my voice from screaming so much. I was like screaming for like 5 minutes straight, just from sheer excitement. Like probably the most excited I've ever been in my life.
Was it a deadlift?
It was a deadlift. It was. I was, I think, 23 when I did it for the first time.
Is that like a world record?
It wasn't a world record. It was just a personal record of mine that I didn't.
900 at that high. That's pretty damn. That's pretty.
I mean, it's up there. And now, the bars have raised so much since then. Like pulling 9 is like, pretty good.
Just so you know. You might want to rephrase that. It was the second most exciting time of your life. Your wife is staring at you.
Listen, I was going to get to that. You took the words out of my mouth, man. God damn it. But, my wife just got here a couple weeks ago. We were separated long distance for like nearly 18 months. She was in Dubai trying to get the visa. Finally got it.
That's long distance.
But, this past year, there's been so many obstacles that I believe we wouldn't overcome that we did and ended up opening more doors and more opportunity than we ever thought would happen, that I have to become a believer now. And before I was more neutral. I believe maybe there's a higher power, but now I'm trying to open the Bible and see what's, so special about it, because I've seen so much that I just can't own up to just coincidence this past year. My wife wasn't supposed to get here till next year.
Okay.
But not about a month before our gym grand opening, she gets a call that she can come here. Right in time to be here.
You prayed about it?
I started praying about it. I was desperate, and she got here, within a couple of weeks of our gym grand opening, one of the biggest moments of my whole life, when it was supposed to be a whole year from now. Damn. So it's like, and there's so many other occasions this past year that made me believe, like, wow, this can't just be coincidence. And Ryan could be a testament to that as well. There's countless instances where I'm like, this is...
She's supposed to be in your life with you this time, it's significant.
Absolutely.
I think, God will put people in your lives and He will remove certain people from your lives, and you have to but when you have that intuition and your curiosity to look into that and seek that and search it, it's a beautiful thing. You know, it can be a really beautiful thing. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how are we going to top this podcast?
We'll have to get you on again.
hey, I was going to ask. I've got one. If you guys more than welcome after your show, perhaps if you want to come on the pod. I've got one at our little spot too. Would love to have you on. You maybe talk about after your show, you win. After you got your trophies, you can bring them in and show us.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely, man. I'd be happy to. Let me hop on. And, thank you for being a part of the One Gen podcast. Yeah. You're actually our first guest.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much, man.
It's been awesome. Great gym, too. If you haven't checked out this gym, it's incredible. Like, it's probably one of the nicest gyms I've seen in California. State of the art, especially those polished floors. I was impressed. And the custom build machines.
Yeah.
Too. We missed out on one of them, but yeah. Thanks, guys. Ryan, Larry, for having me on board, mate.
Thank you so much, Calum. Yes, sir.
Pleasure, man.
Next time.
Absolutely. Very soon. And guys, please follow the podcast and please check out Calum. Link down below. He is making a return to the bodybuilding scene. I'm super excited about it. We can't wait to see what his journey has to unfold. So please check him out and please check out One Gen Gym when you're in the area.
Thanks, man. Let's go.
Hell yeah. Let's make it happen.
Good on you, bro.
All right.